30 superstars, one ring, one winner. WWE wrestling fans look forward to the Royal Rumble every year. But what are the best Royal Rumbles of recent memory? We're not going back to the 90s. No, this is for Gen Z wrestling fans, or just really any wrestling fan. What are our best Royal Rumble memories from the most recent editions of the January Classic? It's a tier list special from Sportskeeda Wrestling.
Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out!
Watch out, watch out, watch out.
What's up, everybody? I'm Kellam. That is Jose G. Down there is Jeremy Benett. This is a special for the Royal Rumble. We're 2 weeks out from this big show. I'm pretty excited.
It's a special.
I'm pretty excited, even though we got some spoilies getting out there about this year's Royal Rumble, the 2022 edition. I'm still looking forward to it. So we're gonna do a tier list special, and this one's a little bit different. We're not going back before 2015, so this may upset people because I think so many people get nostalgia. They go all the way back, way back.
Yeah,
the problem with that, though. What?
The problem with that, though, Kevin, when you go so back, we're gonna be here for 3 hours, and we don't have authorization to go that long. So when I produced this, I was like, you know what? Let's do 2015 to 2021 because we got the Universal title, and that's what's relevant right now. So what do you think?
This isn't going to be a Netflix special with 8 parts, so.
Yeah, so if you're with us and you disagree, get into the comments below. If you completely agree, let us know, all right? This is going to be a really, really fun one. And share this with your friends who are casual wrestling fans who jump back into wrestling around the time of the Royal Rumble. We know there's a lot of people who are going to see their football team get eliminated in the playoffs and they're going to start watching wrestling again, right? This is how it works. And I always enjoyed the Royal Rumble. I think it's a match that, like, even when it's not its best version, it's still a really, really fun match to see. And you get to see like the comebacks and the return and all these different things. It's a match that even in its worst form is still really fun. Like, and worse makes it still saying it's a lot better than other ones. It always tends to be one of the best WWE matches of the year, right, Jeremy?
Yeah, it's always my favorite pay-per-view. You always get returns. You get surprises. I mean, who can forget in 2008, just 4 months after being injured, nobody seeing it coming, nobody even knowing it coming, and John Cena enters at number 30, and that reaction that Triple H had in the ring, it was a legitimate reaction. He had no idea Cena was back. Everybody kept it, things like that you always remember, and the Royal Rumble match always gives you that type of moment.
All right, so let's get right into it here. We're going to have best surprises, we're going to have the best winners, and we're also going to talk about those WWE Universal title matches. So kind of like the best main event match outside of the Rumble. And we're going to go back to about 2015 to 2021. How do we want to jump into this? Do we want to start? Where do you want to go with this, Jose? I'm trusting you.
So let's start with best surprise in the Royal Rumble of 2015. And that year, we had none other than one half of the Dudley Boys, Bubba Ray Dudley, make his comeback at the Royal Rumble. That was a huge pop for Bubba Ray Dudley. It was massive. People were going bonkers. I remember myself going bonkers.
Is this in Philly?
That guy in the front row.
I see the Flyers, the guy with the Flyers jersey in the back. I'm trying to remember if this was in Philadelphia, but I remember that pop was huge pop, and people lost their minds to this. Of course, then the Dudleys had a short run back in WWE after that, and got to be in the Hall of Fame. And of course, I think Bully's doing some great stuff. If you don't check out him on Busted Open, he has some takes that aggravate people, but the way he lays it out in terms of how he thinks about wrestling, what's wrong or what's right about it. He's a very smart guy. Very, very smart guy. I think underrated in terms of a mind here. But that pop was huge. I would put it up there. I would put that up there as a great one. I would put that
it was in Philly. ECW chants everywhere. Nobody expected it because he'd been in TNA for so long. He had been away for quite a while.
And this is just a shoe for like how many months removed from his TNA Impact run was this? Not too long.
I don't remember. Right? Yeah, it wasn't too long.
I don't know.
And they did they did some classics like the Was Up head, the old Was Up head drop with R-Truth and things like that. So it was a truly shocking return that year.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of shocking returns, that match also, we got to see some big winners of the Royal Rumble match, and specifically in that match, it was Roman Reigns who won that particular Royal Rumble match.
But in terms of surprises,
with the assistance of one Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
But look at the look on Rock's face, right? So The Rock comes out and helps his nephew win this match, right? And he's supposed to get the big pop, and this is the push Roman as the guy phase, that where people liked Roman, but they didn't want him to be the guy yet, right? The fans rejected this, and you could tell on Rock's face there that he kind of understood it. Roman's still a big star at this time, should be a big star as the Shield kind of like breaks down at this point. And it's interesting that now we don't look at Roman like that, just so many years removed from it. Roman is the guy. Roman is arguably the guy. I don't think there's this divisiveness about whether or not he is a guy, but he's a heel. So it's such a different time. But I remember the crowd just turning on that big, really, really big, because people wanted something different, and they didn't get it there.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if they brought The Rock out to try to see if they could save those boos, because WWE did not want him to get booed when he won the Royal Rumble. I think a lot of people.
That's a shake in my head one. I'm going to put that in terms of winners.
You're going to put an SMH, shake your head on that.
I'm SMH in that one right there. I'm SMH in that. And it feels weird to do that because The Rock was there, and like people pop for The Rock.
I know. You're right, but it's the same sentiment. I remember watching this, and I'm like, why the hell is he even here? Like, there's no purpose of The Rock being there. And I just remember doing the same exact thing.
What killed it was the fact that Daniel Bryan got unceremoniously tossed out in the middle of the match by Bray Wyatt, and that automatically turned the crowd. They hated what happened there, and then they didn't like it. So then, they thought, okay, maybe Rusev's going to win, and they were hoping that he would get, that spot, and then, Roman ended up eliminating him. But I think the thing was that Daniel Bryan getting just unceremoniously dumped by Bray Wyatt.
And he was so red hot right then.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Early.
He was so red hot at that time.
Early in the match, and that turned that Philly crowd in a hurry.
And it also turned things for Daniel Bryan then, at that point. They really went in a different direction with him after that.
Yeah.
So, Jeremy, how do you feel about the winner of the 2015 Royal Rumble? Do you give it an all right? Was it a meh? Or are you shaking your damn head?
Oh, man, I don't know. I didn't like it.
I think I'm going to put a meh on it just because it wasn't all the way bad, but that finish was just meh. I could have done with it.
Yeah, I seriously, if he would have gotten cheered, I don't think The Rock would have came out. I think they brought The Rock out to save him from boos, and it didn't work. Philly knew better.
So we're going with meh.
Yeah.
All right, we'll go with Matt. Roman 2015.
I know this is off here as you type that in. Jeremy, The Rock comes out at the Royal Rumble. This is modern movie star Rock. He'd already been doing back and forth returns with WWE. At that point, they did the run where he had the title for a little while against Cena and some big matches. And they had him do a return at the Royal Rumble, but he wasn't in the match. Yeah. If The Rock wanted to come out and just do something at this year's Royal Rumble, wow. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't that be rad? I do know people want the match with Roman and The Rock. They want the family feud. They want who's going to be the real head of the table type of thing. And it's something they've both talked about, right? So I would do it at the Rumble. I would absolutely do it at the Rumble. If they don't do it this year, they got to do it next year. Got to do it.
Probably going to be next year.
Yeah,
I would like to see some sort of thing get set up at WrestleMania at least. Maybe not him there personally, but something, or maybe the Raw after.
In April, The Rock is going to declare he's entering the Royal Rumble in 2023, like 9 months later.
just that's what he do with John Cena. He's going to win the I'm going to win the WrestleMania match and main event in a year. So
I'm winning the Royal Rumble 9 months from now. Come watch me win the Royal Rumble 9 months from now. I have to take 4 movies before then.
Yeah. No kidding.
Let's talk about the title match also that we had at the 2015 Royal Rumble match. We had a triple threat match. John Cena.
Oh, this was a classic.
Seth Rollins and Brock Lesnar for the WWE title, in which was a classic. Brock Lesnar was able to retain his WWE title at that match, but man, that match was definitely right up there in classic matchups with Cena. This was fantastic. Great reaction from the crowd. How do you guys rank this one?
I tell you what, this Royal Rumble, this pay-per-view was the start of my podcast, Lost at the Mid Card. And so then we had to talk about the booze. But seriously, a year after our podcast started and we did our first ever year-end awards, I think this match won Match of the Year, if I'm not mistaken.
That was one of the best WWE triple threat matches of all time.
Yeah.
That was definitely one of the best matches on a Rumble that wasn't a Rumble.
Yeah.
In terms of the stuff where it really emphasized the power that Brock has as a personality, larger than life, it also laid into the chaos that he can create. That you can do a lot of fun. Like, he's so big and so explosive. The combination of just John Cena as this superhero type character and Seth Rollins just proving he's one of the best in-ring performers in the world. Everything clicked. The story was good. Seth was a conniving heel. The breakup of the pinfalls was great. The usage of Jamie Noble and Joey Mercury as well in this match was fun. They gave, some more bodies for Brock to suplex. This was absolutely fantastic. And you didn't mind Brock winning and keeping that title going into Mania that year either.
Absolutely not. I think just for every single reason that you described, I think people were okay with Brock at that point still being champion and having the reign that he had until we saw the greatest heist of all time, until Seth Rollins cashed in his money at the bank later that year at WrestleMania. But yeah, man, this match is definitely one of the best triple threat match I've ever seen.
And way better than the Rumble. That was better than the Rumble match on the Royal Rumble show.
It really was.
Put that in the great tier. That goes up into great. That's a great match.
Do you agree with that, Jeremy?
Yeah, I do, because it was seriously, I'd have to go back to the archives, but if it wasn't Match of the Year, it was definitely nominated, and it was truly a top 3 match of the entire year just to kick off the year in 2015. So yeah, great is definitely where I would put it.
All right, triple threat.
Want to remind people, if you're checking out the show, we have a whole lot more content. Subscribe to our channel. It is also available on Facebook Watch. If you're a Facebooky person, we know a lot of people enjoy our stuff over there as well. And you can get Monday Night Raw with Vince Russo, Legion of Raw, him reviewing that every Monday night. We also on our channel have our AEW NXT focus show Wednesday nights called The Debrief with Jose G and Rico. And then on Friday nights, the legendary Dutch Mantel going with us after SmackDown and Rampage. We have a show called Smack Talk. You can check out all of them on demand. We also have them up on our podcast feed, available on Apple and Spotify. Blah, 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 blah. Plug, 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 plug.
All right, gentlemen, let's jump into the 2016 Royal Rumble. That Royal Rumble was here in Orlando, Florida. And that was also the same Rumble in the main event where the WWE title was on the line, where Roman Reigns entered first and had that championship match all the way with 30 men, with Triple H winning that Royal Rumble. So this is going to be a twofer.
Triple H. Triple H.
Triple H. Winning the WWE title at the 2015 Royal Rumble. Where do you guys put this?
It's a really good Rumble. I thought this was a really good Rumble, even with obviously Triple H, and the match that they would build to at that year's WrestleMania with him and Roman Reigns was not. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great either, But this Rumble was particularly good because you knew it was extra consequential. It wasn't just we're going to have a champion. Like, we're going to get a new champion at the end of the night. So it's kind of exciting. And then also it isn't just like, it's like 3 guys and there's going to be a new vacant champion. No, it's 30 people, and like everyone's getting a title shot. That's kind of unique. You don't get to have that all the time.
No, I mean, I want to, I want to think the only time they've ever done it besides that was 92 with Flair.
Yeah. Which is one of the best Rumbles of all time in terms of like all time. That's one of the best ones.
It was okay, though. I think Triple H at 30 was pretty anticlimactic. A lot of people were like, authority again, I think
maybe we put it in the all right tier or the good tier. We're feeling all right or good with this Rumble.
I'm all right about this.
I'm more all right on it.
Okay.
This is more about the surprise.
Yes, this is more about the surprise, which we'll get to from that year's Rumble. But I will go with the Rumble match this year, just getting the winner Triple H being that winner is an all right winner because he had already
All
won
right.
it before in 2002, and that was a much better Rumble win.
Yeah, it was when he came in at 30. You knew what the answer was going to be. God, who else was left in that match? It was Triple H. It was down to Triple H and Dean Ambrose at the end.
Yeah.
It was Triple H, Ambrose, and Roman Reigns, and and to round out that final four, Sheamus was in there too. I think he entered right before Triple H. So it was more of an angle, and it was like, all right, here we go again. How
we get it, Jeremy. You didn't like it.
They shoved they shoved the authority down our throats for so long, and then we just revert back to this. So it was just kind of a all right.
Oh, I forgot. I'm supposed to like heels. I'm supposed to like the heels.
So where do we put the surprise of Triple H here, guys? I mean, it's the same year. We was an all right for the winner, but was he a surprise? Was he a great surprise? Was he a good surprise?
There was a better surprise in that Rumble.
There was a way better surprise in that Rumble.
At number 3.
And this is another one we can put.
AJ
Styles debuting in WWE.
One of the best debuts they've done.
Definitely one of the best debuts. The documentary about that whole thing coming together, that whole time was crazy because he was at that point he had been doing New Japan for like about part of a year.
Yeah.
People thought maybe there's no All Elite. He's fresh out of Impact.
Mm-hmm.
Impact was trying to get him back.
Yeah.
After this New Japan run, and they were trying to get him along with Gallows and Anderson in the WWE or away from the WWE, but in Impact. And they had the deal, and they put out this like press release when they went to WWE at this point, when Styles, Gallows, and Anderson went to WWE around this time. The Impact put out this press release that was so. I don't want to describe it as butthurt, but it was definitely like we had a discussion with them and there were agreements. Do you know what I'm talking about, Jeremy?
I forgot about that till you brought it up. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember just thinking about this being like, oh, well, he's talking to Impact. He's going to go back to Impact. So this was a really, really surprising one, but also Styles is one of those guys where no, you don't have to have him in NXT. He's AJ Styles. Put him on mainstream television.
This is a debut I will never forget. I mean, I remember I probably watched it 1,000 times, man. I remember just the look that Roman Reigns gave to the stage because nobody knew what this music was.
What is AJ Styles doing in the WWE zone?
I just remember Roman Reigns like just looking at the stage, like squinting at the stage, like what's going on? I wonder if he wasn't privy to who this was either. And then when the words "phenomenal" came on the screen and the arena just lost their mind, it was truly one of the best debuts they've done, maybe of all time, if not in the past decade. But
so much of the Rumble is the surprises, right? And I know with this year's Rumble coming up here in a few weeks, people are there were some people that were happy, but upset they announced like 7 of the divas that are coming back from the Diva age are going to be in this big match. Mickey James, Bella Twins, Michelle McCool, Lita's on SmackDown. Some people saying they gave that away, but I think they want to build up hype for this and make you anticipate something else on the show. And the surprises are something that I think people they have to have them now every year. You can't do like the Royal Rumbles they've had where they didn't have a big surprise return. That's the number one thing people bitch about is like, I didn't get my, ooh, wow, this guy's back moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cause there's probably a Rumble that we're going to talk about. Like everybody expected, I can't remember who it was, but then like number 30 was Rey Mysterio, and they're like, "Oh, geez,"
And then a couple years later, he's out of WWE. He hasn't been there in a while, and he had a huge return at the Royal Rumble. People are like, "Oh my God, Rey Mysterio's back!" So it depends on where you are in the hearts of fans at that time and frame and everything like that. Booing Rey Mysterio at a Royal Rumble, and then just a couple of years losing your mind when Rey Mysterio comes out of a Royal Rumble. Fans are fickle, right? They're fickle. They're hard to please.
Fickle. All right, guys. Well, let's move on to the 2017 Royal Rumble. 2017 Royal Rumble saw some pretty good winners there. We had Randy Orton winning the Royal Rumble. We also had a really good matchup that year. It was Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns for the Universal title with Chris Jericho in a Shark Tank. Remember, in a shark cage. But then we also had another.
That's my best friend. That's my best friend. Remember in the cage yelling, "That's my best friend. You're beating up. You're beating up my best friend."
Probably one of the best storylines in recent memory. We also had another title matchup: John Cena and Styles 2017 for the WWE title. So let's jump into first the winner of the Royal Rumble, Randy Keith Orton. who won that to go face Bray Wyatt later on at WrestleMania later that year. Where do you put this in winners, guys?
It was an interesting winner. Now, Randy had won the Rumble before, but this one was really about the storyline with him and Bray. The match they would eventually have at WrestleMania, I think, was a little bit of a bummer. They had like that overproduced like projection gimmick they wanted to do in the match and like do some supernaturally things that just you could have had a match and done something different, you know? But the storyline with Wyatt and Orton was really entertaining at that time, you know, and it really got over and played up to Orton's ability to be one of those methodical, what is he going to do? What is he going to do? He's one of those guys that can do things slowly and like that snap where he turns on people and does something. It's so compelling. And this match kind of kept playing on that and move that down the line to WrestleMania. Now the match they would have at Mania would be a little bit of a bummer, but the ride is half the fun, right?
Yeah. And I tell you, you know, Orton's probably one of the best wrestlers of our, you know, one of the best wrestlers of our generation. The man still gets a reaction, a huge reaction every time he hits an RKO today. So I wouldn't be surprised if he is one that ties Stone Cold eventually and gets one more Rumble before it's all said and done. Obviously, the record is 3. So he's one of those guys that can very well tie Stone Cold before it's all said and done. I thought the Rumble itself was a pretty good match. It wasn't bad, it wasn't average, and it wasn't tremendous. Yeah, I would say it was all right. I would say probably. The impressive thing was Chris Jericho lasting an hour in this match. That was a tremendous feat there. I don't know if Roman Reigns at 30, that probably was just to troll the crowd. Oh God, he's gonna win again, isn't he? You know, but and then of course, how about that pop for Ty Dillinger at number 10? Man, he was so hot and they just killed him. They just killed him.
I do remember a moment where Goldberg and The Undertaker kind of got to have something for a little bit, and that was special. And that was the first time they ever did anything with those two together. Now, mind you, this the Saudi Arabia match was a letdown years later. I just cut a voiceover about injuries and matches. We'll have that top 5 video dropping on Wrestle Binge. Check out Wrestle Binge, our top 5 channel.
Was Lesnar in the ring with them at the same time too, or was it just those two?
Lesnar was in this Rumble. Yeah, he was in this Rumble.
Was he in the ring? Was he in the ring?
It was later on. No, I don't think so. Okay. I think it was later on in the match.
But I know they did have like the showdown between Goldberg and Undertaker. I did enjoy this one, but I wouldn't call this one of the best Rumbles of the
because
it was good.
Goldberg eliminated Lesnar. I just couldn't remember if all 3 of those guys were in the ring at the same time.
Yeah, I would put this as good. I wouldn't put this as I would just put this as a good Rumble.
This Rumble was good. The surprises were good. You know, the fact that we had Taker, Goldberg in the same match, Brock Lesnar. I mean, we had a star-studded Rumble. It wasn't a great Rumble. It was definitely a good Rumble,
but definitely better than the year before. Better than
absolutely, absolutely. But when it comes to the winner, Randy Orton, in my opinion, I think it was all right. But as far as the surprises with Ty Dillinger, Undertaker, Goldberg, I thought they were good. So I thought that was pretty good. But then we have to move into these title matches while I fill in the sheet right over here. But let's jump into the Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns match for the Universal title with Chris Jericho in a shark cage. Tremendous matchup. Kevin Owens retained his title against the big dog back then. And this was at the very height of Kevin Owens' career in WWE.
It was. And Owens and Jericho got to have that match. And obviously everything was about Owens just manipulating Jericho along the way to like just help him win matches, right? And this was still Roman Reigns being Roman Reigns, where people were booing him. And Owens was so over at the time. It's just being a conniving, manipulative heel, right? And people were on board with it, and they were on board with how friendly we were. It was weird. It was that smart. It was the peak of 20, 30-something fans being really keen to what characters were doing, and they just liked the characters. They didn't care if they had to boo them or cheer them, but they cared. They were certainly loud when they came out. I enjoyed it. It was really cool. I actually found Owens' run, his second kind of run where they were reversal, where Reigns was the heel and Owens was the babyface. All fans, all no fans era matches. Those were matches they did in 2020. I enjoyed those a little bit more than this, though. This was really fun. The stuff with Jericho and the Shark Cage was hilarious.
Yeah, I think what keeps it from being great is just the interference in the end by Strowman. But overall, this was a tremendous match. It was very close to being great, but I would put it in the good category.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think it was very entertaining. And this was just right before the breakup of Jericho and Kevin Owens at the Festival of Friendship. So yes, so this was a very captivating storyline. It was definitely a good matchup at the 2017 Royal Rumble. So we're
Now,
definitely
what we got to
add
talk
in
about being the best match on this show. The best match on this Rumble. This was another Rumble where the Rumble wasn't the best match on the show. The best match on this show was John Cena versus AJ Styles.
Oh,
For the WWE Championship, this is peak Cena. This is Cena, like at this time, reminding people that he's still one of the best to ever do it. And he's doing it with a guy who's one of the best to ever do it. Like, this is one of those matches that if you haven't seen it, go seek it out. You just want some cool wrestling. Everything works. The tease of the FU the whole time, all the different things they did in this match were super, super special. I love this. And they had a really great match at SummerSlam. I thought this one was just as good too.
Oh, this was one of the best title matches probably in Royal Rumble recent memory. This was a phenomenal match, so to speak.
I see what you did there, Jeremy.
This was the match we've been wanting for a long time, and they delivered. And yeah, seriously, this is probably the best of all the title matches we look at over these past 6-7 years. I think this might be the top title match of them all.
So where do we stand in this list right now, Jose?
I think this is going to be great. I think this is going to be great. I completely agree. This is, everybody talked about this match, even all this time, 3 or 4 years now after this match, people still reference this AJ Styles versus John Cena match. John Cena pulled out a springboard stunner for the first, or I think it was for the first time, because he couldn't put away AJ Styles. Then he pulled out a code red power bomb out of nowhere. Like, people did not expect half of the stuff that John Cena did in that match. He pulled it off, and man, that was just a masterpiece. So this is definitely going to go in the great column.
Yeah, it was a classic.
I agree. We're not crapping on a lot of stuff on the show. We haven't met a lot of things. We've only SMH'd one part of this. There's gonna be so many.
Plenty of time. We got plenty of time.
You guys are on Vince's pay list. You're on the toll with Vince.
I wish.
You'd be like, I'd be living in a better place than I am now if I was.
All right, gentlemen. So let's move on to our next year, the Rumble, the 2018 Royal Rumble. In this Rumble, we got to see some pretty big surprises. Among them, we got to see Adam Cole come up and make his debut over at the Royal Rumble. Andrade made his way up there. The winner of the Royal Rumble that year was Shinsuke Nakamura. But then we also had a interesting triple threat match, another one involving Brock Lesnar, Braun Strowman, and Kane. What do you guys remember about this title match, and where do you rank it?
It was a fun title match. I don't think it was better than that one we were talking about from the year prior with Rollins and Cena and Lesnar. But it was definitely billed as like 3 big monsters, 1 big match, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you got that. I would not call it, though, a match that was, like I said, it just wasn't better than the other one, and they did do some crazy stuff in here. But this was a sign that, Braun Strowman could be a big star for WWE, even though I don't think people believe Lesnar was going to lose the title in this. But it was a compelling scenario where no one thought Lesnar was going to lose the belt, right? But in that match, I remember watching it and saying, oh, they got me. They got me, and they actually got me thinking that Lesnar could have lost that title a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked it. It was a match that lent itself to Lesnar's explosive nature.
I thought it was good. It was one of those that was just it was a very short match for a title match. It was very your typical Lesnar match of those times, just high gear short matches. I thought it was good. I don't know. I think it borderlines on meh for me there. It was just, I don't know. It wasn't really that excitable for me.
I won't fight it. If you want to meh this match, you can meh this match.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna boom meh on this one, just because it's not memorable, right? Right now you have to kind of dig into the past to remember what really happened in that match. It was short. Whenever you have 3 ginormous guys like Strowman, Lesnar, and Kane, sometimes on paper it looks great, but it doesn't put on a great match. Usually when we have Lesnar involved with smaller guys like Cena and Rollins, like AJ Styles, like Daniel Bryan, we will always put over those matches because it has better storytelling. So I'm definitely going to put a meh for that matchup for that Universal title.
Mhm.
But let's jump into the Royal Rumble. The winner of the Royal Rumble that year was Shinsuke Nakamura. And big one, he ended up facing AJ Styles later that year for the WWE title at WrestleMania, where he kind of turned him in later at the match after the match was over and kicked him swiftly in the nards. And he turned heel later that year. But overall, Shinsuke Nakamura, where do you guys put him on the list?
I loved this. I loved this. I loved it. I loved it. I remember watching this with shout out to the kayfabe crew, shout out to the shitheads, my comedy wrestling buddies. We loved this match. I always liked Nakamura in New Japan. I did think at this time WWE was really protecting him, making him quite the attraction, and building him up to that match with Styles at that year's WrestleMania. You use the Rumble to launch someone into Mania. That's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to slingshot somebody into the biggest time of the year. And it was interesting. And this was the peak of Nakamura in WWE. Maybe he'll get to that peak again. I don't know. But I love this. I thought this was really cool. I thought this was very, very cool.
I think it didn't really. This wasn't a Rumble that really had tremendous surprises because we kind of expected some NXT guys.
No, we get more of that with the women. We'll talk about that in a second.
But even though we didn't get any surprises from top to bottom, this was probably one of the most best put together Royal Rumbles from top to bottom in recent memory. It was just a tremendously well done match that was exciting from start to finish. The match itself was just tremendous.
Yeah, I agree. I think this was a memorable match, especially since Shinsuke Nakamura making his way over from Japan and kind of going his way through NXT and just captivating audiences all over the world. And I think this, especially for the smart people, the smart marks who are really into that, because indie wrestling was really hot at that time, and people really had their eyes on New Japan at that time. So I think this was really great for the fans. I absolutely loved it. Was it great? I don't think it was great. I think I'm going to give this a good. This was a good win for Shinsuke Nakamura.
All right.
It's pretty crazy, though. He was in the ring with Roman Reigns and John Cena in the final three, and you're like, yeah, ain't no way Shinsuke's gonna...
Anyone, you know what I mean? Everyone says they don't listen to us. They just go with the same guy all the time. This was definitely WWE saying, let's go with someone. Let's make somebody in this. And that's what this match did, and that's what that match achieved. But I do think the bigger thing that night wasn't the men, it was the women. This was the first women's Royal Rumble. This one was historic. It is one of those matches when people say, oh, WWE is actually getting behind women. This was cementing that the women's evolution was now coming into its own. WWE was going to treat the women seriously. They were going to treat every star as something special, not just another diva. Divas were getting etched out. They were now superstars. They were just like the men. They were getting equal footing. They were getting their own Rumble. And this match, I will say, is one of the most progressive and important matches in WWE history in terms of making the women truly feel like they're on par with the men.
Yeah.
And there's no Becky Lynch headlining a WrestleMania. There's no Ronda Rousey type situation. The big surprise here is Ronda Rousey comes out at the end of this match and calls out the winner.
Yeah.
And it's insane to think that Ronda Rousey, this huge star from the UFC and films, was now in WWE. It was a big, big thing. And then all the stars that came back at it. To me, it's great. It's absolutely spectacular. And that surprise of Ronda was huge. WWE had ESPN there. They had every major media outlet kind of clued into what was going to happen. This was a big, big thing for WWE and made for a big WrestleMania in New Orleans that year too.
Yeah, it was a tremendous moment. The match itself, might not have been the greatest well done match of all time because you have a lot of people that haven't worked a lot lately, people that don't work with
there
each
were
other
some
much.
issues with Kelly in that match, I remember. But you had Michelle McCool not wrestling for years coming out and doing like half the match, which I thought was like really, really impressive. You had Trish Stratus. You had a lot of women who hadn't been in wrestling for a while saying, I want to be in this match. I need to be in this match. Like this needs to be a big deal. And it's special because I think there's a lot of performers. I'll say it's like last year when Victoria came out. I'm friends with Victoria. Lisa Marie Varon. It was really, really
Me
cool
too.
for her. Yeah, and she's a real sweetheart.
She's awesome, yeah.
And she expressed that it was really cool to see her friends get to have that match.
Yeah.
Like she I remember talking to you afterwards. She's like, "Oh no, everyone asked me how come I wasn't asked, but I loved it." Like she
Yeah.
like because it was proof if you're gonna give them a Rumble, you're going to give the women their due at Mania. So if they get a Rumble, you got to make someone for Mania. So now it's really not just inconsistent. All right, we care about the women, we don't care about. No, we care about the women, and we're going to make the women matter. And I agree with it. It was smart.
Yeah, and going back to Michelle McCool, she had the most eliminations in that match too, by the way.
That's right. Lady Taker, take them out, man.
There was a WWE title match there as well.
There was AJ Styles versus Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens in a handicap match.
Handicap match for the WWE title. Yeah,
Styles won. Just to be clear. Yeah.
I think I'm going to put that in the SMH file just because I completely forgot about that.
It was a good match, though. It was a good match. It wasn't a bad match by any means.
But it was just odd that you're doing a handicap match for a title, right?
Yeah.
Like who's going to win the title then? You know?
Yeah. Exactly. So I think that either should go in the meh or in the shake my head. I mean, what do you guys vote? Best 2 out of 3.
I would say meh because it was a good match. It was a good match at least. So
I want to say all right. I'll put all right. I remember enjoying it, and I like Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Their combination is always special.
Yeah.
And that lit up Daniel Bryan coming back that year too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go meh.
It was a well done match.
All right, it's another one where I get outvoted. Fine.
I'm gonna go with meh, but just for that simple fact.
I would say I liked Asuka winning that year too. Asuka winning the Women's Royal Rumble was fantastic.
It was. I thought that was a fantastic win, and that was also the same year, the previous year, where she won the Survivor Series. She was the sole survivor, wasn't she?
I think so. Yeah, because they were
so Asuka was red hot that year.
Red hot, and she had that big streak of wins in NXT and everything like that. And
yeah, because it didn't get broken until Charlotte beat her.
Yeah, at WrestleMania, which was fantastic, and that was the best match on that Mania too, by the way, too. I want to talk about this. Do we have anything in the shaking my head category? We haven't really put anything in the lowest tier.
Not yet. But I
thought we did the Reigns Rock Make Good Rumble.
We put that in there.
Okay. All right.
Unless you guys want to amend the vote, and then we can put it in SMH.
No. It's already done. It's in the spreadsheet. If we've excelled it, it's been excelled.
It's finalized. All right, guys, let's move over to the 2019 Royal Rumble. 1 year before the pandemic started hitting, but this was, in my opinion, a very good Rumble, a tremendous Rumble, where we saw Rollins win his Rumble to face Brock Lesnar later on that year at WrestleMania. We saw Becky Lynch also win the Royal Rumble that year, and we also had a huge surprise later on. Nia Jax entering at number 30 in the men's Royal Rumble, later getting RKO'd by Randy Orton. And we had a tremendous matchup with Brock Lesnar and Finn Balor for the WWE title or Universal title. I forgot which one it was. But let's start with the Rumble match itself. The men's, Rollins winning 2019. Kevin, where do you put this?
Hard to say. I remember watching this Rumble and enjoying the idea that Seth Rollins was now going to be a babyface again. I enjoyed seeing him in his previous incarnations outside of WWE play that role too. And he had played a majority of his time in WWE as a heel. So this was different. But it worked. And him getting to take out Braun Strowman at the end was believable. And I thought there was fan momentum behind him for that year. But the match itself, in comparison to other things on the show, wasn't as strong. I would just say this was just good. It was good. I wanted more out of it, but this was good. And also the match that he got to have with Lesnar later that year at Mania that they built up to, that was great. I remember they opened Mania. I was at that Mania and really enjoyed that one too.
Yeah, the match itself, I think, was all right for me. The right guy won, though. But I think the match itself was just all right. The surprise is really, I mean, there wasn't really big for surprises in that Rumble.
It's another matter of, do you have somebody who hasn't been there in a couple of years that wants to do it? You know, do you want to do the lighthearted ones with the Godfather? Are you going to reintroduce a character? Are you going to do a big call up? Sometimes it's not always in the favor of the match to do that.
I thought it was unique that they put Elias and Jeff Jarrett 1 and 2, but
That was a very funny bit with Jeff Jarrett alive.
Jarrett was only the real true surprise of that. I mean, I don't know. Do you really call NXT guys surprises? Really?
I don't know. I mean,
if it's a big name that that's getting a lot of buzz in NXT, I would just like Keith Lee that year. I mean, the year after that was tremendous. But I guess it depends on who you ask, right?
Yeah, because like at the same time they treat it as not a brand, and so it's kind of a surprise when someone shows up. But like if Braun Breaker shows up, that's not going to be a surprise for us. We're expecting him to.
Yeah, and this Rumble did have Johnny Gargano, Pete Dunne, and Aleister Black were all in this match, but they still continue to do stuff in NXT after that.
Yeah,
they did have Mustafa Ali. They did have some young talent in this match that they kind of focused on a little bit. But I do get the sense of this was just it was a good Rumble, a good one with Rollins winning. I wouldn't call it great though.
Yeah, I would go all right is my vote for that.
Okay,
one.
All right.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with good just because the matchup itself was pretty good. But you know what? No, I'm gonna change to all right, and the reason I'm gonna go all right just because later on that year, Seth Rollins, the fans turned on Seth Rollins. People started getting stale. The good the good babyface persona that he was portraying, that storyline that we had with Becky Lynch later on. So I'm looking at this at the ramifications of what happened to that person who won that Rumble later that year, if it was good or bad for them. It was okay for Seth Rollins, which is why I'm going to go with the all right.
And now we got one of the best iterations of Seth Rollins ever right now. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Other matches on the show that were exciting. I did enjoy the Ronda Rousey Sasha Banks match. An interesting one they did with the women as well. Becky Lynch is red hot right now. This is when she's starting to really kick into high gear with the man stuff. And she wasn't in the Rumble. She was in a title match for the SmackDown Women's Championship against Asuka, and Asuka won by submission. And Becky was red hot at this time.
Yeah, well, Becky was in that match.
Yeah. So no, but I mean, Becky lost earlier
originally
in the night,
wasn't. Yeah,
and then gets herself in the Rumble and wins the Rumble all in one night.
This is the Rumble. This is the one I attended in person in Phoenix. I was right above the dugout where they come out, so we had some pretty cool seats for that. This women's Rumble match was light years in terms of a good match. Was light years ahead of the one before.
This was way better than the men's that year too.
Yeah, this was a really good Rumble. We had a lot of NXT stars mixed in as well. We got our first look at Xia Li, and I think our first look at Casey Catanzaro.
That year. There was flooded with NXT talent that year, especially on the women's side.
Yeah, it was a good choice to put her in there just because of the crazy stuff she can do from, the American Ninja and all that stuff like that. So it was kind of cool to put her in the Rumble to have kind of that Kofi spot, do some pretty cool stuff.
Becky winning the Rumble was great.
The pop when she came out checking on Lana and her music hit. Man, I was live. I was there.
And Fit Finley just says, go get in the ring. He is the producer. Man. He just says, go get in the ring. You're taking her spot.
I'm in a full baseball stadium that just completely lost it when Finley gave her the go. And that was a great moment to see.
And the final moment with her and Charlotte was special. Those two will always be, snakes intertwined going at each other. I enjoyed it. I would make that's a great moment. It's a great Royal Rumble moment. And mind you, the first Royal Rumble with the women was historic just because it was the first time they had done it. They ended the show with that as well. I did think it was a little bit of a mistake not to end this Royal Rumble with Becky winning. I thought Becky, because remember the last match they did was Seth Rollins winning at the end of the night and winning his Rumble match. I think it would have been a little bit cooler if they went with Becky, but that's backwards booking. You can't really change it.
Well, Becky
won. She did win that year.
Yeah.
Oh,
I will say this though, something that did upset me, and you guys know I'm a big Daniel Bryan mark. I love myself some Daniel Bryan. He's my favorite wrestler. But I'm gonna meh AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan. I was so excited for them to have this dream match. I was like, get Meltzer's Star Machine ready because I don't think you're going to have enough for this one. And I thought they were going to blow it out of the park. But this ended up being the heel turn for completing the heel turn for Daniel Bryan going into the vegan Planet Warrior, Planet's Champion iteration of his WWE
Daniel Bryan.
The new Daniel Bryan. And then you had Eric Rowan come out as his like heavy. That's how they debuted Eric Rowan as his like sidekick in this.
Yeah.
And it was more just an angle for that. This was a huge match in a baseball stadium, and these guys are gonna have a killer match, right?
Yeah.
And we got an
Yeah.
angle. We got an angle more than a match.
So this is more of the angle for you than the actual matchup.
Yeah, we were gonna get a dream match. We're getting a dream match. We're getting Styles and Daniel Bryan. These two
we got it,
wrestlers.
but it wasn't the match you wanted.
Yes.
It being there in person, the crowd was flat for it because of the excitement of the Rumble, but also we were expecting 6-star match and we didn't get one.
No,
it was not up to par with what we were expecting, and that's why it was kind of a disappointment.
So
yeah, and also they would go on to have matches on television that were way better than this. They had one of the best. They had one of the best pandemic era Thunderdome matches. The WWE, like in a soundstage, their Intercontinental Tournament final on SmackDown with Daniel Bryan
that was good.
and Styles winning it was absolutely fantastic. That was a soundstage match. That wasn't even a Thunderdome match. Like where they were still in the Performance Center. That is one of those matches during that time that people should look back and say, like, wow, they really made something work with no fans there. You know, it was special. Way better than this.
I mean, it wasn't a dud, but
No.
I would put it at meh.
I think we all unanimously vote nah for this matchup.
We've math had one. We've mad it.
The other title match though was a little better.
Yes, Finn Balor getting the test here against Brock Lesnar. He was coming up the ranks, and this is the thing with him since he got out of NXT. Are they ever going to go with him? He won the Universal title, and then he got injured, right? And he always had these kind of like booking setbacks where things just wouldn't click, or they put him in Finn Balor's an exciting guy, right? But he's never been the guy who's going to break through that top tier ceiling. He's going to be in there a little bit. It'll certainly make someone like Brock Lesnar look fantastic, and Brock Lesnar can make himself look fantastic. But I remember this was a super explosive match. I enjoyed it, but I wouldn't say it was great.
Yeah, it was one of those just high gear short matches. It was definitely better than AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan. There's a couple moments that you thought maybe Balor might pull off that big upset, but which made it a little better because of the near falls. But yeah, I would say it's probably all right. It was definitely better than the Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles match.
I feel like this matchup was pretty good. This was 2 years in a row where the title had changed just last minute before the Royal Rumble. This year, Brock Lesnar was the year previously to that he was facing AJ Styles. This year, he faced Finn Balor. Man, I think this match was good, bro. I think whenever he matches up with smaller guys, I think he always puts on a better story. So this for me was pretty good. I think this is good. What about you, Kevin? Where did you put it?
I agree. It was good. I would just put it as good. I mean, right in the middle of the road. I wouldn't give it anything more or less than.
Well, all right would be middle of the road, by the way.
Oh, well, it's an extra middle of the road. Let's put it in good. Let's put it in good. I think it's
we're gonna go good. All right,
yeah,
so good.
We're gonna good that match.
Brock
we're gonna good it
versus Finn 2019. All right, gentlemen. All right, but we did have a kind of a little bit of a surprise in this Royal Rumble, especially in the men's, with Nia Jax making an appearance at number 30, getting RKO'd by Randall Keith Orton. What's your guys' reaction to Nia Jax coming in at number 30 in that 2019 men's Royal Rumble?
The report came out that night that WWE was going to do something shocking that may aggravate some people, right? And we got this. It was an intergender violent scenario with her taking an RKO, and she got to beat up some people in the match as well. But it was, I don't know if it achieved what it was supposed to achieve. It was supposed to create some scenario where Nia Jax was going to wreck some of the fellas on the WWE roster. It didn't really lay that up. They definitely wanted to maybe raise some eyebrows. They did, but it kind of came and went. Am I wrong? Like, I don't think this, like, if I didn't have the notes in front of me, I don't know if I would have exactly remembered this.
Oh yeah, I was there. I was there. It wasn't that big of a reaction or anything.
I think they tried to recreate the magic with when Chyna did her thing in the Rumble many moons ago. I think they tried to recreate, and it fell so flat on its face. I think this was I think this was just a shake my head type of moment, just because it was
They tried
unnecessary.
something.
They tried
and it just
something, and
didn't.
it fell flat on its face.
And on paper, it should. Nia Jax is this big, imposing figure. She could beat up the guys. She could legitimately hurt some of the men. And it's believable. And that doesn't mean like challenging gender roles or anything like that. Nia Jax is a formidable human being. That's what I'm telling you. So I think on paper, they saw something there and thought, let's give this a go. It just didn't work. And also she lost. She took a finisher and was out of there, you know?
Yeah, she lasted 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to put a women in the men's Royal Rumble match and make it interesting and have people thinking, oh, wow, she could do some things? Charlotte. If Charlotte got in there as someone, her height, her strength, her power, her expertise, it would be like a total different thing. Now, WWE just want to do the intergender thing now and then. They get away from it. They used to powerbomb old ladies through tables, right? This is a different WWE. This is a different WWE. If
Rhea Ripley would be another one.
Rhea Ripley would be a perfect one as well. I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Plus that SMH row's getting kind of lonely. So
we at least we pulled something up. We got to
crap on something, didn't we?
Yeah.
It's definitely one of those things where on paper it seems like it'd be a cool idea, but in execution it just didn't come out that way.
Yeah, for the end of the Rumble, number 30, you want a shock. Somebody's gonna fill in. You want to wow, and it turned out to be Nia, and we're like, wow,
meh.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
I mean, the crowd popped.
Yes,
when she stared down Orton. But they didn't pop when she came out to fill in for R-Truth.
We're getting to some pops here, though. We're going to get to this 2020 Rumble.
Let's get into the 2020 Royal Rumble, guys. That's a very special Royal Rumble. It is the Rumble before the pandemic hit and the world changed as we know it. We had that was a very good Rumble. Brock Lesnar did not put his title on the line. He entered at number 1, had more than 13 eliminations. One of the best performances in the Royal Rumble in recent time by Brock Lesnar. We had Drew McIntyre winning the Royal Rumble. We had Charlotte Flair winning the Royal Rumble. We had some big returns with Edge making his return that year and MVP. So let's start with ranking the surprises. Let's start with MVP. MVP made his return that year. He lasted less than a minute because Brock Lesnar just kept eliminating people left and right. But nice pop for MVP. Now he's sided with Bobby Lashley. Has had a tremendous career ever since coming back. Where do you guys rank this return in 2020?
It was a good feel-good moment because he was ready to retire at this point, and this moment reignited him to get back into the business. And though he doesn't wrestle much anymore with a knee injury and things like that, he's been a tremendous part of Bobby Lashley's career and has done a hell of a job being his manager, so to speak. And hopefully eventually there'll be a time where he can get back into the ring again. So this was a real good feel-good moment there.
I agree. This is one that spoiled earlier in the day. I remember working for a different wrestling website at that time, and we were working on our stuff for the Royal Rumble post show that we were putting together and like graphics and everything like that. And we were going to rip some screenshots and everything like that. And I remember someone in a hotel or some type of building next to, you said it was in the baseball stadium where the Diamondbacks play. It was a dome stadium. There's a big awning, and if you're near the building, you can see into the field, right?
No, this one was at Minute Maid in Houston.
Well, wherever it was in a baseball stadium. I remember this, right?
Yeah, it was another baseball
stadium. And you could
stadium.
see into the stadium through this big awning, like this tall building, and someone on a cell phone shot them running production reels on the screens. And one of them was MVP. It had giant MVP letters on it.
That's funny.
And it wasn't playing the music, but you could see it. And I remember we got sent that. And we were like, oh, wow, this is really, really cool. I would put this as good. I
agree.
It in the long run, this created something special for MVP where people thought he was relatively out of the business. He was doing BJJ, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu stuff, and had a run in New Japan, had a run in Impact. And, what else am I going to do? This revitalized his career. And I think it's a special thing. And of course, it didn't have much of a run inside the match itself, but it got a hell of a pop when he came out. I mean, that crowd lit up for that here.
Yeah, that was good.
But
what about the biggest pop of the night?
We're talking about that.
Making his big triumphant return after being told that he was retired, couldn't do anything because of his neck. And he shows up This was in Houston, right? I believe this was
Yeah,
in
Houston.
and loud reaction.
Oh man,
That had to
I
be
got goosebumps. I think this is a great comeback, great story for Edge, and the fans absolutely loved it.
I watched that entrance so many times after it happened. I was just so excited, and just what a moment, and just I had to rewatch that so many times. You gotta almost gotta put a category above the top category for Edge here.
This is without a shadow of a doubt one of the best Royal Rumble surprise returns ever. It is. You talk about that one with Cena being crazy because it was a neck injury, right? With Cena, we knew he was coming back. The word was it wasn't severe, it wasn't career ending. Edge retired. He went in the Hall of Fame. It's over. It's spinal stenosis. This is the second time you've had to have a neck surgery, maybe the third time. And you're not going to wrestle again. You're not going to do this. The documentary on Edge, I believe it's called Over the Other Mountain or Over the Other Hill was the subtitle of it. The documentary they did on him coming back and how much they wanted to protect the secret of this and how they went through the whole process and how he had to like find gear. He had to get gear made. He had to get all these different things and working in a gym. They had to get a ring set up in Asheville, North Carolina so he could get ready for this.
Yeah, I think Cash Wheeler came down and
worked with him and stuff like that. And Beth was in the ring, and Beth had a great return that year as well. She but it was
that's the same Royal Rumble where she busted the back of her head.
Yeah, she had
was bloody, all
blonde hair going red in the back. Yeah,
it was bad.
I remember, but I just remember that pop just being so special and feeling so good. And obviously the match is Brock taking out people like crazy, right? And that was really, really cool. And the moment, like, oh, look at the big boy. I'm in here with Keith Lee. This is big boy. Remember that when he said that? And Drew, like, when Drew gave him the Claymore and Brock Lesnar went over and he sold it for like 5 minutes.
That pop was just as loud as Edge's pop. Like, that was a tremendous reaction from the crowd when Drew McIntyre hit that Claymore and knocked out Brock. Like, that was like that moment.
But it's Edge's match.
Drew McIntyre
Edge didn't win this thing. I know Drew wins this Rumble, and it's supposed to like put Drew in the special space. And Drew, it's bittersweet in retrospect because the pandemic happened, and Drew unfortunately had to be the guy who is, all right, you're going to make me the champion, and I'm going to have the toughest title reign that anyone's ever going to have as the top guy in the company when we can't do it in front of fans. Yeah. I think that is something that Drew is owed. He is owed a WrestleMania moment. I think he's owed a Royal Rumble as well because he got to win this Rumble but didn't get to have that rocket ride you're supposed to have out of the Rumble. This was Edge's match. Even though Edge didn't win, this was Edge's match. This is Edge's return. When he got into that ring, everyone's like, they all wanted to take spears. Styles took one and almost blew out his shoulder doing it. This was absolutely fantastic. And this was something I was at WrestleZone at that time, and we had some contacts in the Pittsburgh area. And this is another thing where we got a scoop. And we became aware that Edge was on the campus of the University of Pittsburgh and was meeting with people there. And we're like, what is he doing there? And then there's orthopedic surgeons here. So we reached out to people, and then we heard that he has a ring. So once that was told to us, we kind of knew. And the people who told us didn't realize we were a wrestling website. They thought it was something else. And then we had to be told, like, don't report it until this day. So we got to report it the week of. I remember that. We had to put it out the week of. We played ball nice at WrestleZone back then.
I remember one of the many annoying moments in Kevin Dunn's history. He missed that spear because of his stupid ass camera cuts that he has to do. And he missed that spear on Ziggler. And Ziggler called him out for it on Twitter too. They showed alternate angle. They were quick the next day to put out alternate angles, but I remember they missed that spear, and I'm like, you got to be effing kidding me.
Where do we put Drew McIntyre's win then? Do you put it as good, as all right? Would you say it was a great win for Drew McIntyre in 2020?
We tie up the winner with the Rumble match itself. I say it's great. I say it's absolutely great. And this is a match that holds the test of time. I've rewatched this Rumble more than once, and it's a good match. It's a really, really good match.
Though Edge though Edge came back, the people were behind McIntyre winning this, especially after what he did to Lesnar.
I mean,
So
it was Edge's night. Let's be frank. It was Edge's night because it's his return. But no, people popped for that Drew win. They were on board with Drew.
People wanted
Great.
Drew to win that. So
Yeah, they were on board with it.
Yeah.
I would put that in the great tier for sure.
All right. So we did have a universal title match in 2020. We did have The Fiend going up against Daniel Bryan. What did you guys think of that? Where do you put this? Is this memorable? Remember, this was a strap match.
Mhm.
We haven't seen one of these in a long ass time in WWE.
This was
but we got
violent.
to see it. But this was violent.
Really, yeah, this was really violent. This is peak The Fiend is a monster. Like, he's undefeatable.
Yeah.
He's like, this is peak Fiend can't be beat by mortal men type thing. And he is this otherworldly creature that was in sync. That like mythos and supernatural power stuff was in sync. And Daniel Bryan had now returned to the Yes Man, and it was cool. And I was always on board with it. I was hoping he would win, but I kind of knew going into this match, it was like an Empire Strikes Back thing where, Luke is going to go into that fight with Darth Vader, and it's just not going to go well. Like, you could tell the sense of what they were going for. Foreboding, ominous, evil wins. This, I think, is way better than the match that he had the year prior with Styles.
Yeah.
And also an underrated match. I thought this was a match they could have done at Mania that year. Obviously, they went in a different direction. But I really, really enjoyed this. I would put this as a good to great match.
It was probably the best match of the Fiend's history.
I would put it there too. Yeah.
It was a really good. I mean, man, that was one of the best near falls of the year when Bryan hit that knee, and just how Wyatt timed the very absolute last second to kick out because you thought Bryan was going to win there, and that was just
and also the welts he took with that strap. He got so much damage with that strap, like so much. It looked so violent what he was enduring there too. So it was pretty impressive. Over on the women's side, this Rumble match they had Charlotte Flair winning over Shayna Baszler. I thought this was a strong Rumble, but I did think this was the first one that just wasn't as wow. It was the third one they did, so it was a little bit of a drop down. I'm gonna make this women's Rumble with Charlotte winning. I'm gonna put that in the all right category. I just thought that was an all right Rumble win for Charlotte there.
I think so. I think that was all right. I don't know. It's kind of unmemorable now because I'm trying to think what ended up happening later that year with Charlotte Flair. Even though that was last year and it was during the pandemic era, 2020 is just such a blur. But I thought that it was all right. I feel like Shayna Baszler would have been better to win that Royal Rumble. But again, it's 2020 was such this blur of a year where even if Shayna Baszler would have won, what kind of impact she would have had during that pandemic era when Bayley and Sasha Banks absolutely dominated and carried both brands during the pandemic era? So I'm going to go with a meh with Charlotte Flair winning that one, just because it wasn't really that important for her to win it.
Yeah, and the match itself was probably right in the middle of the first match, which wasn't that great. And the second women's Rumble was really good. And this was our first true look to see how good Bianca Belair could be with all the eliminations she did in that Rumble, entering in at number 3 or number 2, I think, and then taking out 8 people. Both her and Shayna tied with the most eliminations in that one. So this was also this was you thought last year was NXT heavy. This Royal Rumble was very NXT heavy.
Big time.
And you got to see a lot of future stars from NXT compete in that match.
I am looking forward to this year's Royal Rumble. I will be in St. Louis. And the last Royal Rumble I went to was in St. Louis in 2012. So some pretty cool stuff coming up from Sportskeeda in the future. With Royal Rumble, we'll do some cool stuff on site in St. Louis as well. If you're going to be there, try and find me. We'll film some shit and get it up on the channel. And we're also looking at doing something interesting next weekend.
Yeah, we're going to be doing another trivia special. This time, we're going to be having some personalities on the show, so we got to make sure we reach out to them, guys. But we're going to have some personalities on the show. We're going to do a Royal Rumble format trivia. So be on the lookout. That's going to be dropping next weekend. And we got the post show the weekend after the post show Royal Rumble. So make sure you guys set your notifications to see first, so that way you never miss whenever we drop brand new stuff. I also got a brand new interview with Moose. So go ahead and check that out right now on the YouTube channel. Check out the Impact World Champion. Gentlemen, let's move on to the 2021 Royal Rumble. Historic Royal Rumble. First time with no fans in the Thunderdome. Bianca Belair, first African-American woman to win the Royal Rumble. We had some pretty good surprises. We had Victoria make her way into the women's Royal Rumble. We had Carlitos make her way into the Royal Rumble. We had Hurricane Helms make an appearance there as well. And then we had Edge winning the whole damn thing. Drew and Goldberg had a matchup for the WWE title, and Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens went at it in a last man standing match. So let's talk about the men's Royal Rumble first.
Yeah.
The overall winner that year was Edge after making a triumphant return the previous year. Where do you guys rank this?
One of the greatest moments of last year, period, was in the Royal Rumble when Edge and Christian hugged in the middle of the ring. That was just a tremendous moment. We didn't expect Christian to be back, and this was his coming back. And of course, eventually he ends up in AEW. That was a tremendous surprise. Probably one of the better surprises. You can't really top Edge, but that was a few notches down. It was a really good surprise, and Edge winning it was from start to finish. It was just a testament of how long that guy was out, and then to able to go an hour in the Royal Rumble with Randy Orton. They both went, start to finish, just like back in the day with Shawn Michaels, and it was a tremendous moment.
It was special, and I do think this was one of those. I know I don't want to have a revisionist history and say that the pandemic was a good thing for anyone, obviously, but this was one of those matches that I really felt like, all right, WWE pulled it together and made something out of this, and I think we, in the time where we were processing it, we just wanted fans back. We just wanted life back the way it was. And this was, all right, this was the beginning of, all right, things are going to get better, but it's going to take a while. And it's like, I remember the vibe around then was kind of everything in life was hanging over this, because it was like, oh, it's going to take you 8 months to get a vaccine. And we're going to be having this problem again. And we still are having that issue. But I remember there was light at the end of the tunnel. And we knew that this year's WrestleMania was actually going to have fans in it. And let's get some exciting moments. Let's show you that we can make you feel alive again. And I remember the months leading up to that, we're kind of like, okay, and but this was a great Rumble for both Edge and Bianca. I think both winners were set up for some huge things. I think Bianca winning was absolutely spectacular. I think she had the run of last year. I think she was the performer for WWE on the women's side of things. I loved it. I would put this in good to great.
How about you, Jeremy? Where do you put Bianca Belair and Edge's win in 2021?
I'd put Edge at great. I would put Bianca at great as well, just because of the way she just continued to elevate her career from a year prior, knocking out 8 women in the Royal Rumble. A year later, staring down.
And look at that emotion. You know what I mean? That's real emotion there. That comes off the screen, and I've been able to have conversations with Bianca, and it comes off the screen. She is 100% genuine. This is the best characters are extensions of who they are. She's someone who's very braggadocious, but very vulnerable and passionate about wanting to do this and embrace this as another thing after her career in sports. And I think the fans embrace her at the same time.
And I would put Christian's return under great as well. Mm-hmm. It was not expected, and now look, we have Christian in the ring again in AEW. So I would put that return as great as well.
What about the return of one Carlitos Caribbean Cool making his way into the WWE after not being with the company in over 10 years, dude? More than that. This guy is huge. Great. A lot of reaction on social media for
Look
Carlitos
at him in that
making-
picture. He is yoked.
Jack.
He is yoked.
He is big time yoked.
Swolito.
Yeah, Swolito. And he had they brought him out for Monday at Raw like the night after,
And then
right?
nothing
And then
happened.
we never saw him
And we
again.
never saw him again. And it was kind of odd, right?
Baffling.
Because everyone thought like
This
he's
is
back in
a
the
good
company.
return. I think this is a good
Yeah.
return. I think if we had the fans for this Rumble and Carlitos was there, I think he would have gotten a massive pop, and maybe things would have been a little bit different with Carlitos. Maybe he would have stuck around, but I think this was good, bro. I think this is a really good return.
All right, so I'm going to say great return. I think you guys know. I want to show my bias once again here. I told you I'm friends with Lisa Rivera and Victoria. I did some great stuff at her restaurant Squared Circle in the past and ran events and got to learn a lot about wrestling just by watching her watch wrestling with fans and stuff like that. She retired a few years ago, and we had an interview about it, and she was very candid about how there was injuries that were like making her question about it, and the pain after a match was starting to worry her. Mind you, she didn't have any like overwhelming injury, but enough to the point where she was like, I know where my body is and I know what I can do, and I don't want to push it, and she's also someone who's very open about the anxiety about having to come back and do something and have it not look good. She did not, and this is from me talking to her, does not want to have something that makes anything that she's performing with look bad. She did not want to do this if it wasn't going to be special. And she had a very special moment. I remember the thing she said afterwards about it. Like, she thought he'd come in and get to do a few things and people would make her look all right. And she definitely wanted to do a widow's peak on someone. But she had girls lining up saying, can I take the widow's peak? Can I take the widow's peak? Can I do this? And she felt at ease the day of. I think she found out in like 2 weeks. So she had to get ready for this in 2 weeks. So she had to get an outfit made. That outfit was custom made just for that show. She had to get a sense of cardio for this as well. So this was a real process for her and quite the moment. And I would hope that Victoria gets to have another special moment that involves a special ring sometime soon. I think if you want to talk about people that deserve the roses, she is a Hall of Fame caliber talent. I've said this to her. She's the William Regal of women's wrestling in terms of a name with a mind that really makes other people look. She made a lot of other people look better than her, a majority of her career. And she got to have like that incredible match with Molly Holly and all these different things she did in TNA. I hope she gets to be in the Hall of Fame. I loved it. It was great. I'm biased. I don't care. I thought it was great.
I'm not going to argue with you at all. I've loved Victoria her whole career. So I was really happy when she came out in that Rumble last year.
Yeah, I thought that was great. We caught up with Victoria during WrestleMania week later that year, and I think Rick was the one who had an interview with her where we talked about the return of the Royal Rumble. She said nothing but great things about it. And I think this was really good. And, this year we're going to get Lita. We're going to get Trish. We're going to, they still haven't announced all the surprises yet. They just kind of gave us a tease. So who's not to say she comes back this year?
They confirmed 18 performers for the Women's Rumble, right? So there's 12 spots open, right?
Yeah.
You could bring back Victoria for this spot in front of fans.
You could do it. You could do it again. I wouldn't be opposed to it.
Yeah, I think you're gonna.
I'm gonna make a prediction. I think Trish will be in the Rumble this year.
I think so. They brought her name up, so I wouldn't be surprised. Trish and Lita may be working together to eliminate Charlotte Flair. Then I think don't be surprised if you see Raquel Gonzalez in the match. I think her or Io Shirai from NXT, they're probably long overdue to be called up, so I wouldn't be surprised if they're in the Rumble as well.
You know who's the biggest name they could have come back in the Rumble and like really shake some? Two names that just come to mind. Asuka's been on the shelf since the summer, right? With an arm injury. She comes back, big pop. Ronda Rousey comes back.
I predicted
we talked about that yesterday.
I've been predicting Rousey coming back for about a month or two now.
Yeah, so. Rousey coming back, massive pop.
Massive.
And especially if they gave away, all right, we're going to give the Impact Forbidden Door thing away on TV. Mickie James is coming back. Watch our episode about that yesterday. We covered that on Top Story. We're going to give away Lita, all these different people. So there's got to be some other big ones. And then
Oh,
the
yeah.
men's match coming up here in a few weeks has to have some big surprises as well.
And
And the surprise thing, you have to have them every year now. I think it's hard to do that, though, because it's logistics and who's available and, like, how are they going to play into our TV for the next,
Well,
like,
you know,
and-
it's a good thing.
and-
It's a good thing that WWE started announcing stuff weeks earlier as opposed to days earlier, especially to the talent, so they can book them with ease. You know, the earlier you put it, you can schedule it, and that way you can get these surprises out of the way.
Yeah,
Are you guys mad, though, that they didn't just leave them be surprises, you know? Because
Yeah.
I'm okay with it as long as they don't give away all of them, you know? Like, they leave a couple for the event itself.
Just leave a
I'm gonna
couple.
be there.
Exactly.
You
I
know,
think in the
I'm-
case of Mickey James, you almost had to do it ahead of time because
You want to put eyes on the special. You want to put the eyes on the PLE, man.
If you're
Yeah.
Impact, you want that. If you're Impact, you want
Absolutely.
that. Because you want more people saying, like, oh, yeah, I'll check out Impact. Like, like
when I was watching Hard to Kill, I was like, I hope to God Mickey retains here so she comes into the Rumble as champion.
And,
All right, guys,
I wonder, but I mean, yeah, they need the rub. Like, that's what this is about. They need that.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. We're just a few more weeks away from that 2022 Royal Rumble. But let's jump into some of the title matches that we had last year, particularly Goldberg going up against Drew McIntyre. A little bit of a not so much a passing of the torch, but some acknowledgement that Drew is the guy. Goldberg came back for this matchup to have the guy with the champion. What do you guys think of this matchup here?
Was this match really 2 minutes and 30 seconds?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Really?
it really was.
I remember it being longer than that. I knew it was a short match. I didn't think it was 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Looking at the time frame.
Kevin, that's what she said.
Oh,
Oh.
shut up.
Oh,
Hey-oh.
Major pay-per-view WWE Championship match goes 230 SMH.
Okay. I'm not going to
S-
argue it.
MH. I'm gonna go meh. Well, no, you know what? I am gonna go SMH just because they could have done something better with this. You know, but
Goldberg
also
didn't look good in this match. He did not
No.
look good in this match. As compared to his very last match against Bobby Lashley, which by all standards was a very lengthy match at 12 minutes. And that was a good match. This was not a good performance by Goldberg at all. And it's a major pay-per-view that goes 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Yeah.
I'll ride with you on that.
All right. Well, let's talk about the Universal title match between
Acknowledge me.
the head of the table,
This
the
is
tribal chief,
your tribal chief.
our tribal chief,
My tribal chief.
My tribal chief.
and Kevin Owens. It was a last man standing match. This was a tremendous matchup. The head of the table getting the win.
Hardcore match all over the place.
So good.
They embraced the idea of no fans anywhere, so we're going to do crazy
This
stuff.
was great.
This was one of the best pandemic matches in the Thunderdome era. They did what they could. They did the best things they could do with no crowd there. And I was so angry when KO didn't win. I was like, I hit my fist on the table. Like, no.
What did they did something with a forklift? Did he jump off a forklift?
He did.
And like it was insane stuff in this match, especially getting out of the ring and like it was one of those things. And this is just me thinking as an improviser in studying at Second City. The concept is called yes and. Some of the best stories, and WWE has a lot of improvised moments where there's so much of it. We have a script, we know where we're going, all right, but this was definitely something where embracing the idea of no fans being there allows us to do other things, right? Yeah. Cinematic matches were an example of that. And the build up to this, they did stuff on SmackDown where they like took bumps off of the Thunderdome screen structure and stuff like that. And this was a match that kind of upped that ante of everything that Kevin Owens can do that's crazy. Can he get the title off Roman? He didn't. Roman won, but it was another example of just the ride that Roman was on. This is a night and day different performer than the one before. And Kevin Owens was a guy everyone wanted him to win the title, and he didn't get it. It was so desperate. Now he's a heel again, essentially. But I remember loving that, really wanting Kevin to win that match, but he didn't.
Yeah, it was hindered by Heyman not being able to get the handcuffs off of Roman, and then the ref just stopped.
That was an issue where there was clearly something wrong. The gimmick, like I remember that took a while. Like especially when because he couldn't get down. Right, if he was handcuffed up, that would keep him up or something like that. Yeah, it was a really creative match. They were trying to do something with the handcuffs. That was a little bit of an issue, but I don't think it held the match back from being. I would put this in the good category. I would put this in good.
What about you, Jeremy? You gonna go good? You gonna go great?
I'm gonna say, considering the circumstances of the pandemic, I'm gonna put it at great, just because of the circumstances of it being in the Thunderdome.
Mm-hmm.
I think they also had a lot more liberty and leniency into Thunderdome to put across the match that they wanted, and they did that.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with great. I think that was a really good, great matchup for Roman and Kevin last year.
Mm-hmm. For sure, man.
And with that, gentlemen,
yeah,
that's it. We're done. We've recapped every single Royal Rumble from 2015 to 2016, best surprises, best winners, and reviewing the title matches. So what did you guys think? Sound off in the comments. Let us know what you get. Do you guys agree with this assessment, with this tier list? And looking at it right now.
If you don't agree, don't be quiet. Let us know.
Did we not shake our heads enough?
Did we not?
We only put two things.
Did we not?
Can you zoom in? Can you zoom in on the shaking my head category, the bottom category, or SMH? Like, we only put two things in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We only as a surprise in the 2 minute and 30-second match.
And we put a lot of stuff in the good to great. So, like, the Royal Rumbles the past few years have been really, really good. And two of them in the pandemic era were pretty strong, too.
When it comes to delivering surprises in the Rumble, WWE knows they need to deliver. And as you see, that's top heavy. Very top heavy on the surprises.
Also, it's Mania season. WWE understands that like I was saying, the football flip, where people flip out of football and just start watching some wrestling again until baseball starts, right?
Yep.
People get into that kind of cyclical pattern. There's casual fans. What shows are they going to watch every year? They're going to watch Rumble. They're going to watch Mania. And WWE reaches into the universe that they've created to give you some fun returns, some elevating moments, and it's consequences. It's stakes. The winners get something the losers don't.
Stakes.
And the winners get to be in the biggest match of the year, and the losers. I know it sounds, these are fundamental things that you understand, but seeing them play out, the ceremony, the tradition of it, it's special. It is one of those truly special things that only WWE can do their way. And this is one of those things where you only get this in WWE.
You got to do that.
You got to point to the sign.
End of the night. End of the night. I'm pointing to a blank wall right now.
Point to it. You got to point to it. That's the first thing I do when I go to the Dome in St. Louis. I got everyone. Where's the sign? I got to point. Get
a selfie here.
All right, gentlemen. Well, that concludes our tier list special here for the Royal Rumble here at Sportskeeda Wrestling. Remember to make sure you are subscribing, you are following and liking and sharing all of our content. We are dropping brand new stuff every single day of the week. So make sure you set your notifications to see first so you never miss whenever we drop brand new stuff. Give me a follow on my socials, Jose G Official. Follow Kev Kellam. Follow Jeremy Benett, JB Huskers, and Kev Kellam. Kev, how did your show go last night?
I performed in the wonderful, snowy, almost blizzard out Gary, Indiana. And if you want to check me out, I'm going to be doing comedy again in Indiana. I'll be performing with star of It's Always Sunny on FX. You've also seen her on 24's Fox, the 24 show. Marilyn Rice Cup, one of the funniest comedians in America. I'll be opening up for her January 22nd in Valparaiso, Indiana. The link for tickets are up on my Twitter at Kev Kellam. It's in the pinned tweet. Go get tickets. I'm also trying to book some comedy shows in Dallas for WrestleMania week and trying to do some really, really cool wrestling comedy slam jam type stuff. And if you guys have any contacts on that and venues where I can do that, like literally reach out to me. Also, I'm calling some people out. We got this Rumble next weekend. We got our own Rumble. Our own Trivia Rumble. I am calling out. Give me a solo screen right now. I'm calling some people out.
Whoa.
I'm calling some people out. Rick Ucchino, listen, you may have reduced your role here at Sportskeeda, but you are the trivia champion. I believe you should defend your title. I believe a champion has to defend his title. Are you a paper champion? Are you a paper champ? Or are you really wearing the weight of the gold? Did you take that title from me? Yes. But I would hope you would have some respect for Sportskeeda, all right? Can you believe in that, Rick? Can you believe in that?
Are you doing a Triple H?
So I'm going to call you out. Sid is a stud. He's one of the best trivia wrestling performers I've ever seen. I think he needs to be in this Rumble.
Are you saying that, are you Triple H telling Rick Ucchino he needs to defend his title in the Rumble and come in first?
and lose it on one question.
Yes. I will vote for that. I am okay with that. If Rick Ucchino starts at number one,
we're
puts
all
that title on the line,
politicking Rick.
we're gonna do the Roman Reigns route on Ricky Ucchino, and we'll make sure we cut this up and publish it on social media. And he has to respond.
I can't wait until the news gets broken to Rick, which is going to be in about 5 minutes.
Let's get the hell out of here. Thank you so much for tuning in to this Royal Rumble Tio special. Make sure you follow, like, share, and subscribe. And remember, when we are watching and when you are watching wrestling, you have to do the most important thing, which is what, gentlemen?
Enjoy it. Enjoy wrestling.
Yeah.
Bye.